right. Good day to our avid listeners. CJ Sena again here from the Shangri-La Plaza. It's my pleasure to welcome you back to the latest episode of the Philippine Retailers Association's award-winning podcast, Let's Talk Retail. In this episode, we delve into the career journey and insights of a seasoned professional with a diverse academic background and extensive experience in retail and the real estate sectors. She'll be sharing lessons learned, strategies for collaborating and leading individuals from diverse age groups, her experiences leading through crisis, motivations to persevere, and impactful strategies. Evidently, this episode offers a wealth of insights and experiences from our wonderful guests. But before we dive into our podcast, just a quick reminder, everyone, YouTube, click, subscribe, and Spotify also. Click and subscribe. Now, let's talk about our guests. Our guest for this episode boasts a stellar background, holding a degree in political science, a Juris Doctor in Master's in Business Administration, and currently pursuing a doctorate in the same field. For her, learning never stops. She has over 30 years of experience in the real estate industry. She has specialized in development and management of malls and retail support services. In terms of experiences, her expertise spans strategic planning to execution, business operations, leasing, marketing, branding, business development, and organizational leadership. She's also on the International Resource Speakership for topics on real estate and mall management. That's true. I've worked with this lady for a long time. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome the Executive Vice President for Retail and Commercial of Shang Properties, my boss, my friend, Ms. Joy Polloso. Hi, Joy.
Good afternoon, CJ, and good afternoon to all of your listeners. Good afternoon, PRA members and colleagues.
Thank you so much for accepting this. This is fun. The last episode, we had Mariana of Ayala Land, of which both of us were graduates of, and now I have you. Now, let's talk about your journey. We were together in Ayala Malls. You started in Cebu, right? We were together in Ayala Malls, Cebu, right? So maybe you can tell us how your journey, what was your route to get to where you are now?
Okay, so yeah, it's really a milestone for me today because again, as I mentioned, I'm already sort of like 30 years in the business.
Yes.
And of course, most, if not all of this are really coming from the mall sector of real estate. So I started again with Ayala Malls. Of course, Ayala Land then set its foot in Cebu. And we were really the pioneering team.
Okay.
So we were actually hired here in Ayala, and we trained and were assigned to Cebu. No? So then I started with my leasing career, coming from a very strong background in law. It was important then to understand lease contracts. And from there, so it was a very good experience. So from there, from handling leasing, of course, in the process of changing people or assigning more roles to the organization, to the team, I was assigned to handle, we call it before operations, but actually from lease administration to operations. Operations is part of leasing, and also tenancy management and tenant relationship. So I saw how the industry then was just emerging, especially for Cebu. Very new to for Cebu in terms of the malling experience. We've had all of the challenges, but in the process also, I learned so much then because I was still very young. I joined at the age of 23. So very young then. And if I look at my journey as part of the mall industry, again, 30 years, I would say that 16 years, I was a returnee to Ayala. So 16 years of that was with Ayala. I joined Philinvestland for the malls as well, almost 8 years. And 2 years of that stint also was a good exposure in Singapore in one of the leading organization also for real estate development, still handling malls. And today, in my early to mid 50s, I'm now with the Shang Properties group. So in total, if I look at it, it's actually close to 30 years.
30 years. 30 years physically, emotionally.
13 years. you need to recalibrate and adjust so that we feel so young and we feel still so relevant. But having said that, CJ, if I look at my journey and if as the digital native would say, or the Gen Zs would say,
Right.
flex it if you have it. No, I just came from the Eras tour of Taylor Swift. So I look at my
Yes.
journey and I look at what was then my learning, as what you said, when I was
That's
in
right.
Ayala Malls. So
That's
I'd
right.
look at my journey in Ayala Malls as really all about learning the ropes. It was all about acquiring knowledge and also at the same time learning from the experiences. It opened my world to the business of malling and real estate. So then as a very young working professional, I started to look at learning from my bosses or our leaders then. And, you know, I've always been very grateful at the fact that, again, today, 30 years after I started my career in the mall business, I would always go back to my company then. I think, as we all say, one of the pioneering companies in the industry. So always grateful and very thankful for having been employed before with Ayala Malls. So from there, yes, go ahead.
No. I have a question because looks like good mentors is important.
It's important.
Good
Yes, of
mentors.
course, you will always, especially if you're young, you can really see different types of mentors, bosses, and leaders. And my mind then was very open to learn, observe, and acquire, and put to myself practice, promise myself that if I become a manager, a leader by then, I would make sure that I get the best practices of what I saw and what I learned, and do away with what I also experienced that were not necessarily helpful, or let's say very progressive in the course of learning more from the industry, right? So of course, because I was actually exposed to different kinds of, or to the different departments, from leasing, merchandise mix, I was given a challenge one day by our president then, to handle marketing instead of hiring someone from an outsider.
Right.
They gave me that role, and my discussion, my deal with my leaders then was like, just give me so much, just give me the support, and also send me to trainings, because I think that I have the ace and I have the character and the ability to learn the skill. So actually I was able to handle the role of marketing. So imagine from leasing to marketing, leasing
Right.
operations to marketing, I was handling the role of marketing, when one day an opportunity for me to work in Singapore was opened up to me, you know. So I thought at the time that, in fact, I think I'd like to share this with the young individuals, that you
Right.
don't really just limit yourself, especially when you're in organization. You don't limit yourself to just knowing and understanding and working on that department where you are. You need not even look outside. You just have to look at opportunities within the organization. I took to heart, you know, my performance and how I would improve myself, because I would always have this personal vision that at a certain period in time, let's say in a 2 to 3 year horizon, I would need to move myself up in the organization. So when I was offered a job in Singapore, it was actually for a vice president's for marketing's position. But when they look at my portfolio, my CV, they realized I had very strong background in operations. So instead of hiring me as a marketing head for marketing, I was actually hired as GM to handle an upcoming mall, to handle a redeveloping mall, as well as 2 to 3 existing malls. So I thought I was very young then, so I was very confident that I can share a lot. At the same time, also my purpose for going there was to measure up myself with the executive, the leaders, the managers in Singapore. So I've always been very competitive as a person, you know. Coming from being a provinciana, you always want to prove yourself that you can also equally compete and be able to share what you know with the rest of those who are able to do so. So that was my goal, just to, you know, one day I was also in an ICSC in Singapore, and for some reason I was manifesting that I would be able to work there. And really, surely, in about 3 months, I was offered a job. And so I took it in, because I was already finding myself as being so comfortable and knowing everything that I can in Ayala then. So for me, it was time to move to a different environment where I can challenge myself, if there is still more that I can bring out and also more that I can learn. So I went to Singapore. I definitely, it was not all fun, but very challenging path. It made me a stronger person, a stronger individual, but I learned so much from there. And also at the same time, an affirmation that a Filipino, for that matter, can
Right.
actually, perform the role of a GM in a country like Singapore, which is a first world country where we benchmark ourselves when it comes to best practices.
Right.
They definitely have the system. They are up to speed in decision making. But I guess what made me really different is the fact that we are very resilient, and we have always been trained to address the uncertainties, is what you call as the gray areas in a business. When you make decisions, especially when you're a manager, a leader, you don't take a decision for what is in a sure, a kind of a decision, right? You don't just simply look at white as white and black as black. You need to process the gray areas, because sometimes it's in the gray areas where you get the best solution to address a particular problem, and also at the same time learn in the process and apply the learnings to the next situation that you would encounter. So they've always looked at me as being able to handle the gray areas, and I don't buckle down, So you know what it is to be in a new mall, CJ, especially that
Right.
I wasn't part of the development, and you know how expensive it is to build in Singapore.
Correct.
So all the things that we have learned in our previous employment, of course, in our alma mater, when we talk about sense of place, we talk about atmospheric and all of these other things. These are very expensive experience in a country like Singapore. So definitely all of those things, as I look at it, it was, a point when I know that what mattered then was more of efficiency and business rather than experience. So of course, I needed to adjust, because I know that was the priority of the company. But in the process also, again, for a new mall, building it from scratch, you exactly know how things would be in terms of handling and managing expectations from our tenants, from our tenancy. So I've learned so much from there. But then I also realized that with my children that I brought in there, and at my age then, I didn't realize that I still had so much to learn from, and then so much things to mature, and be able to handle more. So really, my mantra then was go back and sharpen your saw. So I was very grateful, because instead of joining another company, Ayala took me in again for another role. So it was business development and so on. So I was really actually completing all the critical
Correct. The functions.
functions in a
Right.
value delivery chain of a mall business. And again, as what I've said for that fact, I was very grateful. I took the scholarship to attend graduate school and earn my MBA. So very grateful again, because that was a company scholarship.
Oh, nice.
Yes, I come from a very diverse background, not necessarily business, but earned so much of the experience and real situation. It was time for me to validate what I know in the real business environment to the fundamentals, and also in the process enhance my knowledge with really the scholar way of looking at concepts and being able to really articulate well what strategies are. So that was the whole point why I decided to take up my MBA, or my Master's in Business Administration. And then, of course, fast forward, it added value. So it was time to move on. So a new uncharted territory for me, or let's say a bigger field.
Yeah.
My kids were turning college. It was time for me to also move on, and that's the reason why I decided to accept the invitation for me to join Philinvest, which made me stay for 8 years. And literally also when I was in Philinvest, it was all about expanding the footprint, so improving the product, and literally really extending or developing new malls, which really was very exciting as well for me. And I also would like to thank my CEO, Mrs. Josephine Gotianon Yap, for whoever I am today. I would always be very grateful for the companies and the organizations and the people that I have worked with in the past, especially my bosses and the CEOs. Yeah, so then 2020, I guess after being able to mentor, what I wanted to say is in all of this journey, what is very distinct for me is I know that I have mentored people. Even today, the people, the Singaporean young workforce that I had, I'm still in touch with them. So I think that mentoring is also really in my DNA, because I really like to teach and share and lead people and really impart what I learned also from my mentors. So it's really paying back for me, or paying forward for that matter. And that's really part of how I include it. I mean, you know, how I see my journey in all of these 30 years.
And then 2020, we got together in Shangri-La.
Yes.
Okay.
So actually,
crisis year.
Again, because we are really very we are the professionals, driving professionals of the mall industry. So before I actually joined Shangri-La Properties for Shangri-La Plaza, I was bound for a position in Cambodia.
Yes.
You know that?
Right.
And everything was set. Okay, so I thought, okay, I think I'm done with the Philippine industry. It was time to move on for me to teach also the young professionals for the company that was also building malls in Cambodia. But of course, as fate would have it, there has been certain factors like my family, you know, my children were going into certain moving from school. So those factors brought me to decide not to pursue that. And as fate would have it, I landed in Shang Properties, joining Shang Properties as
Right.
as the EVP for retail and commercial. And so we met again.
Yes, we
And
were
became colleagues.
and voted in again and shook the industry, especially it was the crisis years of 2020. So I have two questions on this. Number one, family seems to be very important in your decision making.
Yes.
Why is that so?
Because I think, or I believe that where I try to bring out what I can for the organization is actually what I have coming from my family. Family is always a core for me, and I meant family is like my own parents and now my own family.
Right.
So I think I would really think that as I share it also and inspire people, you can always build, nurture, and grow your family while at the same time nurturing your career, especially for women like us. So that's why in the process, in all of my decisions, in the milestones of my career, I would always put also my family as a consideration.
Okay, just one more question because it's Women's Month. Family, the balancing of career and family. What are your thoughts in it? Balancing career and family.
Well, it's important to look for an organization that also aligns and suits your priorities in life and your core values as well.
Okay.
I guess that both of us and many of us, I would say, are really lucky to have worked with organizations that would also put family as a priority. The treatment within the organization, the environment would really create a very supportive kind of environment. So I'm very fortunate that I have worked in an organization that allowed me to nurture my career at the same time nurture my family. So I cannot speak for others, but I think that for us, for our experience, and it's not just in Ayala, even in PhilInvest, I am just, again, as what I said, fortunate that, or maybe it's a matter also of choice. That's the reason why I stayed more years. Like I would always usually stay more than 5 years in the company that I've worked with, because I would always feel that it it supports and aligns to my goals at the time then, which was all about improving myself as an individual, being able to contribute to the organization. I'm pretty sure that you all know how we work so hard, I think, on call, always, on call in line of duty. We never buckle down with any additional responsibilities. And it's important. But at the same time also, when I look at all the things that when I would weigh in factors, we shouldn't miss the fact that first and foremost, we also have our family to consider. Yeah.
Okay, that's a good point. Now, the more interesting part also is you got together in Shangri-La Plaza during the start of the COVID. So fast forward to 4 years after, what were your learnings from being a leader during a crisis period? Maybe you can share that with our
Yeah.
listeners.
Okay, as like how the entire malls were performing well prior to pandemic.
Right.
So I even asked myself, what else can I do? Because it was like on a high occupancy level and everything was in place. So we're not aggressively expanding our footprint outside of our estate. So I said, okay, there's not much perhaps that I can do. But one thing that I have always considered as a priority when joining the organization is really, again, to be able to share and pass on my knowledge. I'm preparing myself, and I'm always happy to see that young people, young individuals are able to take on the role. And hopefully in the future, they can even be ready enough to take in bigger roles, okay, and be more part in a forefront in the industry. I think that's really our goal is to be able to impart, share, influence, and contribute something for the industry, not just within our immediate environment. So when pandemic happened, which I did not expect, no one was ready enough, how I just look at it as more of a situation that would allow me to bring out what I know, and also test what I can do. Because remember, I came in again 2 months after we were already on lockdown.
Yeah.
And there was very short period of time to establish rapport with my team. And you know that, right? Our team are also seasoned professionals. And so rapport is important, especially in a crisis situation. But for me as a leader, what I did then was just to recognize what and think through what I know, from the heart, what I know, and also behaviorally or feeling that, this is just one of the crises that we can pass through, that we will be able to survive and sustain through, because it's not the first kind of crisis, although it was a different kind of crisis,
Right.
but crisis calls for everybody to join together, as a team. So I look at taking to heart what I know, and also for me, having the good intentions to do the right thing and to the best of the interest of the organization. That's what I could offer. I mean, it's something that is intangible, but in my heart, I know that I will do best. I will put my foot forward and do best, bringing out what I know. And so therefore, with that kind of intention, because I was confident I could handle in terms of strategize and everything, it just came out naturally that what I could give, what I have given as instruction, how we organize ourselves, what needed to be prioritized. And I think that that we have been, in a way, more than just creative and really things that we have not done in the past, to look at the contracts and see what we can do individually with saving our tenants. So it was not one fits all kind of a
Right.
strategy and an action taken. We had to look at each and every tenant or account that we needed to save. So, but of course, thank you, of course, to our chairman and to the organization, to our leaders, because they were just as supportive to address and approve our recommendations. And I would like to believe that we have, we made it because it was all an organizational effort, a 360 kind of a contribution or effort where top line, our parties, and down the line, we all work together with the same vision to really survive and work through with the pandemic.
I was going through my notes. So for that period of the crisis, it's rapport, teamwork, creativity, supportive leaders, and same vision. That seems to be the ingredients to surviving the pandemic.
Really, you have to show your team that you are really there. You cannot be, monitoring or managing them remotely. They know that you are in the battlefield as well, so that you know exactly what was happening, and you could respond, decide, and strategize rightfully and on time. So it was important as well that I could articulate the goals of the organization. Remember when some of our team would already get so discouraged and so on. Everybody was just so exhausted, right? Some were not anymore hopeful, but it was very clear that we needed to move forward and making everyone understand that this is the goal, and the goal is really to protect the best interest of all of our stakeholders. So I think the other thing that I would like to think and put emphasis on is really more on accountability.
Okay, let's do it. Accountability.
Right? Accountability, yeah. Being accountable.
Okay, now let's go. Dear Tita Joy, okay, advice forum. All right. What would you advise to students deciding on their career path? So we can also talk about the MBA. To students deciding on their career path, what would be your advice, your top of mind advice?
Find where you think, even if when you're a student, even as a person, as an individual, you know exactly what your strengths are. You should know what your traits and your strengths are, right? That's one. Number two, look also, if not validate, where your passion can be simulated.
Okay.
Okay, so, and then, of course, on the practicality side, as not everyone also are given the same opportunity or are in different situations, you must be practical enough to also know where you can, improve or empower yourself economically within a certain period of time, because it's very important, to be happy is to be able to also enjoy and share back what you've earned to your family, and also to yourself, no? So I think that's also important. So career path, well, in reality, in the Philippine setting, young kids are not really so sure what to take on as a career. So there's always the influence of parents. So of course, factor in there that all, if not most of us, would always believe and trust that the suggestion of our parents is always something that is going to give us a better life or better opportunity in the future. So there's always that factor about parents' suggestion or influence.
Listen to them. Okay, is an MBA important?
MBA is important, but not necessary.
Let's
okay.
yeah.
It's important because, again, it depends on your personal mission. When you know what you want, when you clearly understand that you want to be in this position or in this state of life at this particular period, then you would also be able to establish and identify what you need to do, what you lack, in order for you to reach that goal or to reach that certain period of time that you see yourself already in a higher role or on a better position, and so on and so forth. So so for some organizations, actually, MBA is not so of a requirement, okay? But for me, it's both an individual decision. When you see, because we don't, as professionals, I'd like to believe that we don't wait for the organization to spot us in terms of our ability to handle bigger roles. You know, like promotions or taking on a higher role. It's really the responsibility of the individuals to try to move forward, to open up, you know, ourselves to better opportunities within the organization or outside the organization. So therefore, in the process of moving up, learning from within a certain role in a department may not be enough to allow that person to be ready to handle bigger responsibilities. Therefore, MBA comes in as an added value, and then as an important element in a person, especially again, as what I've said, when you're trying to take on the role of a managerial position and up.
So it's like a polishing. Yeah. Okay, next advice. Oh, one of my favorite topics with you, the next generation of retailers. What's your advice to them?
I think two things. Okay. Definitely the next generation of retailers are already adept and already open to the fact that there's already the element and the factor of AI, digitization, omni-channel, all of these other things. But they must not forget to give importance also in terms of the core values of the organization, which I'm pretty sure their parents, their their family,
right,
must have instilled in the organization. It's really important. Secure, protect, and work within the core values that you have, because that sets you apart from the rest. I'm sure that's the reason why they've already been there. Their brand has become a legacy because of that. Why they survived many years after several crisis situation. And I think the other thing also for me is that even if we are in the digital age, in an industry revolution 5.0, as they say, it's important to also really look at the people as a key resource in a business. Physical resources, yes, definitely. If you're doing well, you can acquire that. Processes, you can also just pay that off. But people is an equal resource for a business to succeed. So when you try to look at your people also as a key resource, and you give equal attention, pay attention, how you can really address, nurture, and allow them to grow, I'm pretty sure they'll do more and they'll do well and survive, and I think extend the legacy as it should be.
Okay. I've asked you about career women, balancing career and family. Our last question for the giving of advice, what advice would you give your 21-year-old self? Throwback to 21. What would you tell your 21-year-old self?
It made me think when I was 21, yes. I was graduating from my College of Law.
Right.
Okay, so again, at a young age, you're not as bold enough to push yourself to look beyond what you think you can do. Okay. So I would advise myself, my 21 self now,
yes,
to be more bold and daring. Again, what do you call that? Exhaust all your resources, your network. Be not afraid to approach people who can mentor you and guide you. And that's exactly what I'm doing, to give you advice, what could be best in terms of, let's say, what career to take on, or what particular undertaking like to take on as well. So again, before having recalled where I was in my 21 years, I was just focused on one particular career. I was afraid that if I don't do well and succeed in this endeavor, I cannot make myself successful in other endeavors. And I didn't think that's true. And I don't think also that's really applicable today. So it's really looking outside. It's also, again, exhausting all the resources that you can have. And there's just so much to learn from and to get information from. Yeah.
So that's our be bold. Now, taking advice. What is the best advice given by your parents?
I think I could think of perhaps three things up to today. It's all about my core values as a person. Again, centering on God, on family, and that would mean also really living my life with integrity. I think we've always that's always the thing. Be honest or own that integrity. And then of course, in the third aspect is share what you have to others. Yeah, it's that share what you have to others. So that's all the three things that I could remember from my parents. Yeah.
How about the best advice given to you by your mentors?
Because my mentors come from different industries. I have a mentor come from the academe. I have, of course, our own mentors.
Was there a
what do I
thread?
remember?
Was there a common thread across all of them? Was there a common advice from all the mentors that you've had?
Well, I could only describe it perhaps in one big statement where it's all about stick to this industry because we know, I mean, I heard it not just from one of my mentors, that you can still do more in the industry. It's really true. I almost wanted to shift to the retail side, and you know that, right? But they said, no, you can still do more. And there's so much promise in building, nurturing the mall industry.
Oh, yes, it's lots of challenges, so that makes it more fun. Okay, let's go to the next section, which is friend or foe. Friend or foe and why? Technology, friend or
friend.
foe?
Friend.
Why is technology a friend?
Well, life today can't be without technology. It is an enabler, right? So it's a friend.
It's a friend. How about artificial intelligence? Friend or foe? That's such a hot topic.
I'd like to think it is a friend.
All right.
It's not yet in place in terms of proper application or how to use it, especially not just for retail, but even in other industries. However, it's not just an emerging thing. It's already what's happening right now. So it's a matter of just creating regulations. So I would always welcome artificial intelligence then.
All right. Last two questions on friend or foe. Lazada, Salora, Shein, and other selling platforms. Friend or foe, and why?
Frenemy.
First time I've heard that answer.
Frenemy. You know why?
It's
Because,
interesting.
remember malls were supposed to be like the distribution channel for our retailers, right? The brick and mortar.
Right.
And then when online platform came about, we were sort of affected. Okay. In fact, at certain point in time, perhaps not too many retailers were as excited to create presence in the malls or brick and mortar because they look at online as getting more business from there. So at that point, then you would look at online platform as affecting us in our business. So it's frenemy because I also have become a customer of the online platform, right? So I needed to be because I wanted to understand the dynamics. I wanted to, so it's a frenemy. So, getting the best practices of what they can. And in the process, learning if there is any opportunity where we can, integrate that channel into our business model.
I have a side question on that. What can we learn from these selling platforms that you can bring to our industry, which is brick and mortar?
Well, I think a lot.
When you're top of mind.
Service, right? Service, meaning to say the extensive service from return and exchange, payment system is one, feedback. These are all part of an integrated service that makes customers in online platform very satisfied and happy. And it keeps them, buying more or patronizing more. So that's one element, that's one area. Well, the ability to cater to all, meaning to
Okay.
say having more options, because you need not put a section where it's all premium brands and put section where you have to cluster. In an online platform, you need not cluster them, structurally, so
Yeah.
that people will be alienated or will somehow get confused in the process. So that's the other best thing as well, I think, in online platform.
Okay.
And of course, the last thing as well is not just having that option, but also being able to provide access both not just to the local brands, but even to the global brands,
That's
where the customer can get the item, on real time.
correct.
So of course, like if I wear this fashion, I know what's the fashion in Paris or Milan. I just order that online, and this person can get it in like a week's
Correct.
time. Yeah.
Lots of
You
learning for us.
needed something, then you go also order your books, whatever it is.
Correct. Yeah, there's a lot to learn from them. So the next one, competitive malls, friends or foes?
Frenemy. Frenemy, of course, in a way, as a business, let's all admit we are competing
Right.
comes to tenancy. So in that aspect, of course, you don't want a tenant going to your neighbor mall, of course, for obvious reasons. So, however, for as long as you know what you can offer
Right.
as a distinct value, you create your own story when it comes to providing that kind of experience that your customers would look or would have if they go to your mall, then you will just welcome everyone and befriend an ally also with the rest, because again, we're becoming, as a big industry, we're not competing amongst ourselves. We're actually up to compete globally. People are traveling,
Right.
people are going out, people are ordering it abroad. So why not just strengthen our relationship and be the force for the Philippine mall industry. So it's frenemy for me.
All right. I love the candid answers. All right, let's move on. We call this the introspective portion ayon sa isang roleta. So we will draw numbers and
Wow.
the questions. We have 3 numbers to draw from. And this is going to this is an interesting portion of our number 15. Number 15.
Ano yun?
Question number 15 is about social ties.
Mhm.
What is the most awkward social encounter you had to endure? What is the most awkward social encounter you had to endure? That's question number 15 on social ties. Was there ever a time that you were awkward moment?
Okay. Our role, our career calls for us to show up when it comes to social events.
That's right.
Okay? So there are invitations when it is just solely for you, intended for one. Okay? And even if you know that let's say in my case, even if I don't feel so comfortable going, because perhaps I know that the people around there who will be attending are not necessarily people that I know.
Right.
But the role calls for it. I have to be there. So those are really awkward moments when you have to just show off and be natural enough to communicate, engage, and enjoy the event.
Correct. The GRO moments, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So show off time, then
That's right. Okay, question number 2. Let's see where it takes us. Whoa, social ties again. Social ties. Number 12 is, oh, this is nice. What does the word home mean to you? What does the word home mean to you?
home
Yes.
is an
Home.
expanded definition for me. Okay. The basic home will always be an imagery of my family. Okay. With my extended relatives. That's always home for you. But home could also mean your workplace. because of course you spend so much time and dedication helping an organization, a business grow, and you feel you're part because that's how you want to be part of that organization or planet. So workplace also for me is home. And when you finally have your small community, whether these are a set of friends, you know, your, let's say, former colleagues, your classmates, and you have a common understanding of how to feel good and be happy. I think taking out all the negativity, when you simply enjoy spending, you know, moments with your closest colleagues or friends, that's also supposedly home for you.
Home is where the heart is. Okay.
Yeah, home is where you feel happy and at peace.
And our last question from the Ruleta. Oh, 3. Okay. 3 is about self. In what ways are you privileged? In what ways are you privileged?
Okay. In what ways am I privileged today?
Yes, today.
In ways where, because of my role in the organization, being part of a good company, Shang Properties, I have the privilege to experience a better environment. I think privilege for me is that I get what I deserve. And because of that, what I get, what I deserve, that makes you happy when you are acknowledged, when you are, I don't like to use the word compensated, but I think that's all be it, right? It's acknowledging what you have contributed and making you feel important, or if not, making you feel like you're really part of the larger goal in the organization. The things I brought back to my family, the things I treat myself, those are my privileges.
All right. That was a very candid answer. Very nice. All right. Last 3 questions. All right. This one is about looking back. If you are not what you are today, what would you have been and why?
Okay. Again, you can see that in my degree, I've always wanted to become a lawyer.
Okay. Then.
So
Why? Why a
I
lawyer?
always want to help people. I always want to defend people. Yeah, I've always had that sort of like personal, you know, commitment to help people. So if I'm not in my career today, I would probably be in the judiciary.
Okay.
Of course, I will not settle for less, but a higher role, administrative role, and at that.
Nice.
If not, also in an executive position in the government.
Oh, that's an interesting one. Why would you do that?
Because I've always looked at myself in my younger age as a leader.
All right.
I've always had the ability to lead rather than just be part of the team since my younger years. So my peers, my classmates from before, and up to today, I get to have sundot offer to either, you know, run in a government position or take on a government position, and you know, it's a joke, no? So I hope when this gets out, it doesn't come out as, it just comes out as a joke. When they would always say, when I was in my MBA, they'll say, what do you want? What position would you like to take in the government? I said, I want the Department of Tourism.
Uy, that's a nice one.
I mean, you know, it's not, it's more of like, you know, it's like passion that, you know, you marketing, you do this and that. So it's just an example. So I hope when this gets out, Secretary Frasco does not take offense.
You're kababayan.
Anyway, it's a personal vision. Okay.
When you retire many years from now, it can always be an option. All right, last 2 questions. Okay, as Nescafe said, para saan to gumigising tuwing umaga? What do you wake up for each morning, Joy?
You know, especially after pandemic, I would say that I wake up every morning to pray on the success of my children and my family. Okay, that's one. I wake up every morning and look at myself as being fit and healthy, so that I can still do more good. It's an expounded version of do more good to others.
Right. Very, very focused and very clear
Yes,
what you want to.
yes.
All right. I go back now to a bigger question. Okay. Almost a few months after 2024. So this is more of a crystal ball question. What excites you in 2024 and why? What
Oh,
excites
2024 is like a whole new open field, right? It's like there's so much you can start playing again, executing again what you are able to do, welcoming any factor in the process that will challenge what you already know and what you can do. So it's all about a continuous learning process, while at the same time already injecting your wisdom and bringing out the best of how you can improve your product, for instance, no? So that's what excites me for 2024. At the same time, also, I realized that at the age of 53, no, before I do on the flip side.
Sorry.
At the age of 53, I should already be preparing my organization in terms of succession, and it's really important. Yeah, sometimes I went into a trip and I realized, no, I think it's about time. You don't wait for the last few years. It would always be important to be able to help the company organize succession plan. That's one. And number two, also, I'm excited and bold enough to move on to the next chapter after I reach 60. So that would mean to say, I'm not going to stop. Perhaps I'm not the person who's going to stop and literally retire, but it's moving forward and be able to do the things that I could not do today. Consultancy, again, taking in the role in the government, whatever it is, bring it on. When I'm 60, I'll take it, whatever comes in.
I'd like to go back to a very interesting word you said, succession. Very bold of you very candid of you to admit that. And we've seen that as observers of organizations, not necessarily ours, but why are people scared to prepare for succession while you just verbalized it?
Again, on a personal mantra, right?
Yes.
When you're not preparing yourself or opening up yourself enough, especially again when you reach 50.
Right.
Diba? As they say, pag 50, in fact, at the age of 50, pwede na mag-retire kasi hindi na taxable ang retirement. So parang okay, that's now early, parang practice. But actually, again, you've got to do things. That's why they would always say, when you reach 50, you've got to do things. You have to strengthen your network. You should really be doing other things outside of work. So for me, I guess you, CJ, and myself, we've made the best of what we can have in this industry. It's not like saka na lang. Diba? Parang if I look back, if you're gonna ask me, you want a rewind? Parang I've done it so well because I've enjoyed, I've learned, I've imparted. It doesn't mean to say it wasn't as painful and as challenging. But if today I would ask myself, is there something that I have not done? I'd like to think I was able to, in my own limited resources. I was able to do the best, So everything, meaning to say, I've enjoyed so much from this industry. I've learned so much from this industry. So it's just moving forward and moving on.
That's right.
So now again, like doing outside the organizing, diba, participating organization. I sometimes I feel so frustrated because I am not yet doing so much of my contribution. It's always about contributing to nation building. I know I can do more. So in fact, I made it part of my personal development that I should be more bold and participative in outside organizations, because that's how I get my fulfillment.
That's right. Now, flip side. Let's go to the flip side of 2024. What's your concerns? I mean, we've heard about the headwinds that will hit us.
The concerns are just very petty.
Right?
It's the
Okay.
day-to-day operations, right? You know,
Alright.
of course, at the end of the day, it's about setbacks on from our customers. We need to say
Yes.
we know who our customers are, right? So it's the day-to-day operations that are really setbacks that, you know, but I look at it as really just part of the process. So it does not, you know, discourages me. It's just it affects us, I'm sure, you know, it affects me.
Definitely.
But I
Tama
always
lang.
like to think of the ultimate result. You know, I remember we would always say, let's create a vision where we're now celebrating success. Let's
Right.
create a vision where all of these, you know, setbacks are addressed. So honestly, those are the only things that I look at this as flip side.
Okay. Wow. Hey, time has passed so fast. So I now have to say thank you to you, Joy. Truly inspiring, truly candid. It's like we're having coffee in the mall, and we'll have coffee later. But thank
Yeah.
you so much, Joy, for
Yes, I think I
joining
really want
us.
to encourage young professionals,
That's right.
especially the ones that are still,
Right.
you know, trying to think what to embark. I'm always propelling for the mall industry as a very good industry to carve career.
We
At the
agree.
same time, also, it's not limiting. You know, you
Right.
may come from, I do not come from Manila. As you know, I come from Cebu. I was born in Samar. I was given and I'm given the same equal opportunity to be
That's right.
able to showcase what I know, to I'm empowered and again given same access to learn more so that I can impart and contribute more.
Thank you so much, Joy. Always, always fun having a chat, but we have to say goodbye. And I have to say thank you to our viewers. Thank you very much, Joy. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Joy Polloso, Executive Vice President for Retail and Commercial of the Shang Properties. Thanks again, Joy. And friends, thank you. We'll see you again in our next episode for Let's Talk Retail. This is CJ San of Shangri-La Plaza. Don't forget to follow us on YouTube and Spotify.